The Pyramids of Giza are some of the oldest human-made structures in the world, and although we know they took hundreds of years to complete, we don't know for sure who built them. Ever wonder who actually built the pyramids of Egypt? Let's dive into that mystery today. There are several theories out there about who was responsible for building the pyramids, and in order to understand the different ideas, we need to look at what the pyramids are made of, how they were made, and how long they took to make. Well, to begin with, the pyramids are made of limestone and granite. The outer faces of the pyramids were originally covered in white Tura limestone, which gave them a dazzling appearance. Limestone was quarried from nearby areas and transported to the building site using barges on the Nile River. Limestone is much softer than granite, and so it was used for most of the actual construction. But harder granite was also quarried, usually from Aswan further south along the Nile, and used for important parts of the structure where extra strength was needed, such as at the base or in specific chambers inside the pyramids. The stones themselves vary in size, but tend to average around 2.5 tons each. These massive stones were then moved into place using wooden rollers, levers, and ramps. While the internal structure of the pyramids is made of rougher stones that were more loosely fitted together, the outer faces were constructed with great precision. In fact, the largest pyramid, the Great Pyramid of Giza, has an astounding 2 million stone blocks, each weighing on average 2.5 tons, all fitted together with such accuracy that you can only fit a razor blade between many of the stones. This incredible feat of engineering makes it all the more amazing when you realize that the ancient Egyptians didn't have any modern tools or technology to assist them. They did everything by hand. Now let's talk about how long it took to build the pyramids. According to most historians, it took roughly 27 years to construct all 3 pyramids at Giza. However, new research suggests that it might have taken a lot longer. Using a technique called dendrochronology, or tree ring, dating researchers were able to determine that the wood used in the boats and building materials at the Giza site came from trees cut down during a very specific period, specifically between 2512 and 2482 BCE. This means that the construction of all 3 pyramids spanned a much longer period, approximately 80 years, not the previously believed 27 years. So now let's look at the different theories about who actually built the pyramids. The first theory is the traditional one that most people believe, and that is that the pyramids were built by slaves. This idea has been around for centuries and was popularized in part by the writings of ancient Greek historians like Herodotus. According to this view, the pharaoh was the owner of the land and everything in it, including its people, so he could command anyone to work for him, even if it meant forcing them into servitude. Some estimates claim that over 100,000 slaves worked on the pyramids and that 10,000 of them died every year from exhaustion or other ailments. It's hard to imagine such a huge workforce all crammed together in close quarters, working under the hot sun with little food or water. We would probably hear about revolts or uprisings, but there's no evidence of any large-scale rebellions during the construction of the pyramids. Additionally, we have no written records of the pyramids being built by slaves. It seems unlikely that such a massive project would have been undertaken without at least some written documentation. What's more, recent studies of the bones found in the mass grave near the Sphinx suggest that those who died there were not slaves, but rather free Egyptians who enjoyed good food and regular medical checkups. All things considered, the slave theory just doesn't add up. There's no real evidence to support it. Theory number 2 is that the pyramids were built by an advanced alien civilization. Proponents of this idea point to the precise astronomical alignments of the pyramids as evidence of extraterrestrial involvement. They argue that the ancient Egyptians couldn't have possibly known these alignments without advanced technology. However, there is no concrete proof that aliens built the pyramids. Many mainstream archaeologists reject the alien theory because the pyramids were built during a time when humans were developing advanced skills in mathematics, astronomy, and engineering. Why not attribute these skills to the ancient Egyptians themselves rather than assuming that aliens did it all? Moreover, If aliens really did help the ancient Egyptians build the pyramids, why wouldn't there be more evidence of their presence, such as tools or other artifacts? It's much more likely that the Egyptians simply developed the necessary skills on their own through hard work and ingenuity. This brings us to theory number 3, which is that the pyramids were built by the Egyptians themselves. This idea is supported by evidence from various sources, including ancient texts, archaeological findings, and scientific analysis. For example, we have a number of ancient Egyptian texts that refer to the construction of the pyramids. These texts often mention the pharaoh as the one who commissioned the construction, but they also mention other important figures involved in the process. For instance, the historian Manetho recorded the name of an official named Hemiunu, who may have been the architect or chief engineer responsible for designing the pyramids. Unfortunately, many of these records were destroyed over the centuries, so we have only limited information about who built the pyramids. But there is another source of evidence that can help fill in the gaps. A few decades ago, researchers discovered the remains of a workers' village near the Giza Plateau. The discovery was exciting because it provided a rare glimpse into the lives of the people who built the pyramids. Archaeologists uncovered a number of things in the settlement, including homes, workshops, storage facilities, and administrative offices. They also found a number of other features that suggested that the workers who lived there were relatively comfortable. For example, the houses were spacious by Egyptian standards, and many of them had courtyards and gardens. In addition, the workers' village had several amenities, such as a bakery, a beer hall, and a clinic. This evidence suggests that the workers were not slaves, but rather free Egyptians who were paid for their labor. Finally, scientists have used computer modeling to simulate how the ancient Egyptians might have built the pyramids. This evidence supports the idea that the pyramids were built by a large workforce of skilled laborers who used sophisticated techniques. Overall, while we still have much to learn about who built the pyramids, the evidence clearly indicates that it was the ancient Egyptians themselves. There is no evidence of alien involvement or forced labor by slaves. Instead, it appears that the pyramids were built by a large workforce of skilled laborers who were paid for their work. Who do you think actually built the pyramid? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Can't wait to see you next time.